Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Cannon Chat this evening. I'm joined with the brilliant Craig from the wonderful Same Old Arsenal podcast. I was recently on Craig's channel with Lee Judges as well, but tonight we've got the wonderful Craig on. And how are you tonight, Craig? Good to hear from you, mate.
I'm very well, mate, and thank you for having me on. It's the first time I've ever been described as wonderful. So thank you very much. I appreciate that.
No problem at all, mate. Sadly, it's just myself this evening. Is sunning himself in Portugal, I believe. So
same as Judges. Judges is in Spain, I think, as we speak.
Very fortunate for some. But we've got the delights of talking about Arsenal's recent defeat to Chelsea and as well the victory against Bayern Munich as well. Just before we get into that, just want to quickly say that Rob, who's been involved in a couple of these hangouts, won't be taking too much of a further part in the channel due to commitments outside of this, which is a shame because he was really good at what he does. But hopefully we can get him roped into a few more hangouts. But yeah, just would like to thank Rob for his contribution and his help with getting this little project started. So if you're watching later on, then thank you for that. And hopefully we can get you involved sometime soon. I'll see you at the Community Shield in a couple of weeks' time. But Craig, let's move on to these games in Shanghai. First and foremost, before we get into the football itself, traveling to Shanghai after having that couple of pre-season games in Sydney. I was going to say tour, but it wasn't really a tour as we were just based in Sydney. Do you think it was maybe a mistake to do that much travelling in such a short period of time?
Only a mistake in sense that the boys look absolutely knackered. Watching the Chelsea game yesterday, people are having a go saying that Chelsea look better, Chelsea look fitter. Let's not forget this is Chelsea's. Correct me if I'm wrong. Chelsea's first pre-season friendly. They've been training in London. They've flown out to Shanghai and they've played us first. Is it controversial, James? I don't know. Is it? It's obviously a big. It was a big media pull. We've got to go out to these countries like Australia and Shanghai, where we've got a lot of supporters. A lot of support comes from that part of the world. We see it in Australia, 80,000 people for 2 pre-season friendlies, and then again yesterday I think there was 90,000 at Arsenal Chelsea yesterday. So there's a lot of pull for Premier League football out there. Was it us? Was it the Premier League? We'll never know. Was we asked by the Premier League to go and play out there? Who knows? Controversial? Is it controversial? I don't think so, James. I don't think so. I think a lot of people are making too much of it. Like I said, the only thing I can see that's going to have a negative impact is the fitness, because the boys look absolutely drained. Yesterday was, there was no pace to our play at all. We were, Mercer Ozil was misplacing passes. Everyone was missing. I just don't want to pick on Ozil, but everyone was misplacing passes, poor touches. Ultimately led to us getting beaten 3-0, and deservedly so.
Yeah, we'll get on to the absolute hammering against Chelsea a bit later on. But one thing that I think is important to highlight is that these tours, financially, they are really good for the club. So if that money can be put towards potential transfers, that's a really good thing. But in your view, Craig, given that you mentioned there we have got such brilliant support in Shanghai, all around the world, not just in Shanghai and Australia, but in places like Africa, America, we've got fantastic support as well. Do you think it's important to visit these types of places? And obviously, I think it obviously played on the mind of the club as well when they were going out to these countries. Do you think it's vital that we do have that connection with the fans more and more?
Yes, I do. I do believe it's very important. You've only got to go on Twitter to see how many, what countries we're following. Like you say, Africa, America, as far out. I mean, when we do these podcasts, we can check to see where we're being listened to. Some of the places I've seen on there I've even heard of, and then when I Google them, they're out in the middle of the ocean somewhere. So, as a club, yes, it's very important, and I think it's very important that we go to these places and we play games for them, in their own backyards, as it were. It's very important. Just because we're fortunate enough to live close, you live in London. I used to live in Essex. I still travel over. It's still relatively close to me. But then you see these people that are travelling from America to come to home games. I mean, the Everton game, the last game of the season. There's a couple of people who follow me on Twitter from America, Australia. They were all there. You know, I mean, it's great to see them having to come from such long distances. But then again, yes, James, I do believe it's very important for the club to keep in touch with the support overseas.
No, I wholeheartedly agree with you, Craig. And I mean, I do believe that as much as it was a money-making thing, these tours are massively beneficial to make sure that those fans in the distant parts of the world do not feel left out from getting to see, you know, their beloved team. I mean, for these people that have come close to me, like the guy that got the Aaron Ramsey tattoo, I mean, that's just a surreal moment for someone like that. Absolutely unreal. So the more the club can do to connect with fans across the globe, I think that's a brilliant thing. And
yeah, I mean, you've only got to look at the scenes there when they landed in Sydney. I mean, it was pandemonium in the arrivals hall, you know?
Yeah, no,
people
it was
getting on, lots of people crying because they'd shaken hands with this fella or that fella. You know, I mean, we take all that for granted. We're lucky. We get to see him every week. Well, I used to get to see him every week. You know, you get to see him in the flesh. You know, every other week or every week. I don't know how many times you go, but we take it for granted a bit.
Oh no, for sure. I mean, if someone said to me that I couldn't go to Arsenal anymore, I'd be absolutely devastated. So as I say, for those fans away from home in other countries, I mean, it's just brilliant. And if we could do this more and more and more, I'm very much open to it. But so long as it doesn't involve too much travelling, I think if we'd have done this any closer to the start of the season, then it would have been a problem. But we're back in London now. We've got the Emirates Cup. Which I'm looking forward to. Good chance to test ourselves. Good chance to see Chris Willock back, who's playing with Benfica now. And then we've got the Community Shield after that. And we should be prepped for hopefully what will be a good win against Leicester on the opening game of the season. But I won't count my chickens just yet because we know how it all goes. Let's talk about something positive first and foremost. That win against Bayern Munich. Good game, I think, all round. It was a good game. I've only seen the highlights. I haven't seen the full 90 minutes, but from what I've seen, that Iwobi goal, absolutely magnificent. If he can make those darting runs from the midfield into the box more and more often, brilliant. It was very reminiscent of the FA Cup final goal that Aaron Ramsey scored. This time, Ramsey, goal scorer, turn provider, playing it into Iwobi. Brilliant header, past the keeper to make it 1-1. And then we won 3-2 on penalties. Do you think that game was a realistic test for Arsenal? I mean, we've seen Bayern Munich lose 4-0 to AC Milan, a team that I would have thought were significantly a couple of pegs below Bayern. So I don't know how much we can take from these pre-season games, but in terms of the club looking fit, players looking ready for the game, I think that was a positive sign from Arsenal.
I do too. You know, people giving out on Twitter saying it was a draw. It was a draw. No, if you look back at the history books, it goes down as an Arsenal win. Winning breeds confidence. So that's, you know, nice. What was I going to say? I don't look too much into these pre-season games, James. I never have done. Never have done. It is what it is. It's a pre-season friendly. They're played at half pace. You know, we saw that yesterday. I mean, unfortunately for us yesterday, but we'll come on to yesterday. We'll talk about Munich. It was, you know, Bayern Munich weren't no great shakes themselves. It was a half-paced game, finished on penalties because, you know, it was there for the entertainment of the people to finish it on penalties. The game itself, I enjoyed the game, even though, like I said, it was a slow-paced affair. Again, like you touched on, a brilliant goal from Iwobi, a lovely assist from Ramsey. Not much more we can say about it, really. It is what it is. It was a pre-season friendly.
Do you think it's good for the young players as well? Because obviously we highlighted them an awful lot in the podcast I did with you. Reece Nelson and Keita, Bramwell looked very good in that game. Do you think that for those younger players to play against a team like Bayern Munich, who had a lot of first-team players out there, it's a good opportunity for them and should help them get into the first-team squad a bit more?
Oh, it's massively important to get the young players on the pitch in games like these, not just for the game, but to get them into the environment. I mean, you take Cohen Bramwell, for example. I mean, this boy was playing for, was it Eastleigh Town or
Henford Town, I think, or Hungerford Town. It is something like that anyway. Age. Non-league.
This kid's used to playing in front of 150 people. All of a sudden, he's running out, you know, in a massive stadium in Sydney or a massive stadium in Shanghai, playing in front of 90,000 people. I mean, what an experience! And that's going to make him hungry. He's going to want that more. And that's the same with Reece Nelson and the other lad that you mentioned there. They're going to want it. They're going to want to play in these stadiums in front of that amount of people week in, week out. And it's a great. I thought it was a great testament to them actually, the way they carried themselves during those pre-season friendlies. I thought Cohen Bramall was very good. I thought yesterday he was probably one of our better players. Reece Nelson, we all saw Reece Nelson in the first game against Sydney FC. Again, people calling him, people were calling for him to be in the first team off of one friendly, you know. So there's a lot to be excited about with the youngsters. And to be honest, James, it's been a long time since we've had some youngsters we can be excited about. I think I haven't been.
Oh, go on, Craig.
No. I mean, the last time I saw a bunch of the young fellas was that Sheffield Wednesday game that night in the Carling Cup. You know.
Yeah, Glenn Kamara.
They didn't look good at all after all the talk about them. You know, and we ended up losing the game. But the three that you mentioned there look very, very good. And I hope to see him. I hope to see him in the first team, if not in the Europa League this year.
Well, I mean, it's not just those three as well. We've got Christian Bielik coming through. We've got Maitland-Niles. So in Nketiah, in Nelson, in Bielik, in Niles, in Bramall, we've got a very exciting youth project coming up. And as well, let's not forget Alex Iwobi, someone like him, only 21. Hector Bellerin, 22. I mean, this squad is looking very, very exciting. And for me, it's just important that we blood these players correctly into the team, because it's something that I think we've got very wrong for a couple of seasons now. Rob Holding said it before, said it again. I can't let it go. He should have played a lot more at the start of last season. And it's just a case of getting these players into the team at the right time, playing them in League Cup games, not necessarily playing them all together, because when we did that against Sheffield Wednesday and we lost 3-0, it was just abysmal and definitely didn't get the balance right. But to play these guys, you know, bring them off the bench for about 15, 20 minutes if we're winning a game comfortably in the Premier League, there's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong whatsoever. So hopefully we get him into the squad more. And I don't know about you, Craig, but someone like Reece Nelson, I mean, he's the one that's on everybody's lips at the moment. I would be more than happy to see him not start games, but come off the bench for 20, 30 minutes in games against the likes of Bournemouth, you know, at home. And that's not to discredit Bournemouth at all, but those games that we're expected to win at home, a very good option off the bench in my eyes.
But like you say, James, it's all about management, isn't it? I mean, Iwobi last season or the season before when he first arrived, you know, he hit the ground running. He was doing everything right. But then I think in the last half of the season, he blew out and wasn't as effective as he was. Now, that was down to bad management, if you ask me. He was asked to play too many games too quickly, and he blew himself out. We've seen him play very well in this pre-season tour, I feel. He's got himself a goal. Hopefully now, he's built up his stamina a bit, and you know, he's going to be, you know, he'll be more productive for us. But yeah, again, it's just about management. Carling Cup, Europa League, like you say, games at home when we're hopefully, you know, 3-4-0 up. 75th minute, there you go, son. Show us what you can do, you know, like the old days.
I mean, that's the thing about the Europa League, really, that it does give us the opportunity to kind of play these guys. It's a great platform for them to really showcase themselves, not just to Arsenal fans, but to Europe, really. So a great opportunity for those guys. And if they're not to make it in the first team, then I'm sure some players, someone like Cohen Bramall, I think would be good to have maybe a loan out whilst we've got Monreal and Kolasinac still at the club. So very exciting on that sense. But let's talk about a little bit of doom and gloom. It wouldn't be an Arsenal podcast without doom and gloom. So Arsenal's recent 3-0 defeat at the hands of Chelsea. It was quite a strong team that we played. Obviously, it was Chelsea's first pre-season game. As you correctly said, they've been training in London. They come over to Shanghai. They've torn us apart, played their very first team. Batshuayi had an excellent game. Victor Moses played very well. Very strong team all round. But from our point of view, also a relatively strong team. I mean, the only relatively young players we had in the sides were Cohen Bramall and Maitland-Niles. But beyond that, Mertesacker was in the team, leading the squad out. We had Lacazette playing, Mesut Ozil playing, Iwobi playing. I thought that front three actually looked quite exciting. Ozil, Iwobi, and Lacazette. I was wondering how they'd all perform, but it didn't seem to quite work. Ozil, one of the brightest sparks in the game, but Lacazette just not really getting involved as much as maybe he could have done. Didn't get enough service.
No, he didn't.
it's a difficult one, really. A game like that, I really don't think it helped traveling from Australia to Shanghai and then playing a game like that. I mean,
not at all. You've knocked it on the head there, mate. You know, I mean, look, yesterday Twitter after that game was like we'd lost the Champions League final. Some of the things I saw on Twitter was absolute. You know, it was actually a disgrace, and I'm starting to think to myself now: do I really need to do this now? Do I really need to be on Arsenal Twitter anymore? It's like, James, when have we ever judged a pre-season? When has pre-season results ever been a worry to anyone? Why are pre-season results always all of a sudden a worry?
I think now, Craig, with social media, it's becoming more and more of a bigger thing that we win these type of games. Just because, as you say, Arsenal Twitter, the reaction that it has online, I think it's big. It's really big.
We lost. We've been beaten 3-0 by Chelsea. Yes, the game was poor. Yes, and the performances were poor. Yes, we've travelled from London. Yeah, we've played 2 games in Australia. We've then travelled to China. We've played Bayern Munich and we've played Chelsea. That's 4 games. Okay, in sweltering hot heat. People can say I'm coming out of all the excuses, whatever. It's just the bare facts. In sweltering hot heat that they're not used to. I mean, they're taking drink breaks every half an hour. We've played 4 games. Chelsea have been training in London, flown out to Shanghai, and that is their first game of pre-season. Yes, they've destroyed us. Perhaps we should have done the same. Perhaps we should have trained in London and come to just Australia, whatever. But I'm not looking. I can't take anything out of yesterday's game, James. It was a pre-season friendly. Again, played at half a pace. All right, Chelsea were probably playing at 10 mile an hour quicker than us. They hit us with 2 quick goals. The boys look absolutely knackered. There was no fight from anyone. Like I said, we were giving the ball away stupidly. The players that we were expecting to play didn't. People having a go at Lacazette. Lacazette got no service whatsoever. So what is the man supposed to do? They just didn't look like they wanted to be there yesterday, and they looked knackered. And again, mate, I really am not looking into the result in any way, shape, or form.
Okay, that game aside, because I don't want to talk about it any longer than I have to, because as you say, not just because we lost the game, but also because I don't think we can take a lot from it. I mean, we've played a lot of pre-season games on the other side of the world. Yeah. I don't want to be coming out of all these excuses, but it's a lot. You're asking a lot of the players there, but then again, that's why they earn however much they earn. But it wasn't pre-season friendly.
It's true. I mean, can anyone imagine trying to play? Playing 4 games of football in a relatively close space of time in that heat? I mean, it's even when the World Cup was over there. The players were taking water breaks and stuff like that. It must be awful playing football.
Well, it makes you wonder how that. Not to go off topic too much, but that World Cup in Qatar, how that's going to go.
Yeah, well, I think I hope to see that cancelled, to be honest, mate, because it's ridiculous. Or didn't they say something about it being played in winter, in December?
Yeah, but I mean, even how much of a difference will that make? Playing it in December, I wouldn't want that. I don't think any football fan would want the World Cup in December. Imagine that.
Well, I would hope with everything that's happened with Sepp Blatter found guilty, Platini found guilty of taking bungs, that World Cup will be cancelled and given to someone else.
I'd hope so, mate.
It's an absolute farce that they got it anyway, to be fair. We all know that Blatter as a Dodge, is as bent as an S-hook. We all knew that he'd taken money to give the World Cup to them. The new people at FIFA should stand up with a pair of ghoulies and give it to someone else.
Anyway, we won't stay on that topic for too long because I feel that we could go on for a good few hours. Craig, let's just take a little look ahead to, we won't stay on it for too long, but the Emirates Cup next week. Again, not really games that we can take too much from, but with that Community Shield coming up and with the season only a couple of weeks away now, do you think it's imperative that we do get 2 rather convincing wins against those teams we've got in the Emirates Cup next weekend?
Oh, absolutely, mate. Of course. Not only for them, but of course for the fan base. We're football supporters. Everyone loves it when we win. When we win, everyone's up for it. Being an Arsenal fan isn't such a bad thing when we're winning. So yes, it's imperative we win, and we win well, and that we win. We win our home competition. going into the Charity Shield, that's where we'll see whether we're ready or not. Don't worry about yesterday. We'll have a look at ourselves when we're playing Chelsea at Wembley. Then we'll know what kind of state we're in. But again, glorified friendly, James, isn't it? You know, it's.
I still want us to win that, though. I mean, I think.
Of course. Don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. I want to win it. You know, and because as I said previously, winning breeds confidence. You know, and I want Arsenal going into that game against Leicester full of confidence. I don't want them to be going in half-hearted or, you know, we lost to Chelsea or whatever. But I want them 100% committed, 100% focused, 100% confident.
No, I completely agree with you, mate. And that's why I think, as you say, it's vital that we do get these wins in the Emirates Cup. And then, obviously, won't go on to it too much now, but that Community Shield, I think, you know, I'm going to that game. I'm looking forward to a day out of Wembley, and I hope to see Arsenal get a win at a ground that we notoriously do well at. And then, as you say, we can gauge how fit this squad is, how ready we are for the new season. And, you know, I'm looking forward to it. I really am looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to seeing what back three we play, because that's I want to see our strongest 11, the 11 we expect to be playing throughout the course of the season. We're not going to have Rob Holding, are we? He's still he won't be ready for that game, and we're going to have a few other players out as well because of their various international duties. So you won't have a full strength team, but we'll have a squad that we can experiment with a bit, and that's kind of what I'm looking forward to. And hopefully we can get a little bit of revenge on Chelsea. But before we come to that game, let's talk a little bit about Arsenal transfers. One player that we've recently seen leave the club is what was my beloved Wojciech Szczesny. Quite sad to see him going away. Really sad to see him go. Recently joined Juventus for about £12 million. Ridiculous, ridiculous fee. Should have been significantly more than that when you see Jordan Pickford going for £30 million. I mean, what do you make of the transfer? Was it the right move from Arsenal? Because for me...
No way, mate.
No, go on, mate. I'll let you crack on.
No way. Wojciech Szczesny was the top-rated goalkeeper last year in Italy, okay? And that is including Buffon, whatever you want to call him, right? How in God's name have we let Szczesny leave us? I just don't understand it. He was a top-rated goalkeeper in Europe. Now, can you imagine if he wasn't ours? We'd all be calling for him to be signed. Do you know? Give us that young keeper there, look. We've got an ageing Petr Cech, we've got a David Ospina, and we've got Martinez. Is Martinez ready to take that step up? I don't think so. I think
the thing with Martinez is I'm not going to go out there and say that I think he's going to be Arsenal's first choice keeper for X amount of years, because I don't know if that's the case. And I think people do jump to conclusions a little bit with him. We've seen him in a couple of games, and he's been the bright spark in a lot of those games that he's played. He's had Champions League experience, Premier League experience over the past couple of years, filled in a few times last season, and every time he's played, he seems to be one of the better players.
Absolutely. He's done what he's asked, and he played very well in those games. But can we see Martinez as our number one goalkeeper going into a season? Let's say next season, you know, Petr Cech's getting on. Can we see Martinez being our number one goalkeeper next year?
Surely Arsene Wenger, if he knows what he's doing, has to have the knowing that Martinez is ready to make that step up into the first team. Okay, well, if Arsene Wenger thinks that Martinez is the man, then I'll go with it. You know, a lot of people who know me, a lot of people who follow me on Twitter or whatever, they'll know that, you know, I thought it was the right time for Arsenal to go. But you won't get any of that off me any this year or next year. He's here for 2 years. Of course, I might question some of his tactics or some of his substitutions, but I'm not going to call for him to go anymore because it's done. He's here. He's staying for 2 years. If he thinks Martinez is the right person, then Arsene Wenger thinks it's the right person. But I was gutted, mate. Gutted to see Szczesny go. And the fact that Juventus have come in for him as an understudy to Buffon says everything, doesn't it? It says absolutely everything. I think he should have been given a second chance at Arsenal. I know what he did was totally unacceptable. Totally unprofessional, but he went away. He put his head down. He grafted. He statistically became one of the best goalkeepers in Europe. What more did we want from the boy? You know, he's matured. He's gotten older. What more did we want to happen?
Bring
No,
him back.
I
Should have
I
brought him
completely
back.
agree with you, Craig. Completely agree. He's a young keeper as well. Let's not forget, in terms of a keeper,
Yeah.
26, 27 years old is no age. He's got another decade ahead of him. If you look at Petr
Yeah.
Cech, who's now coming into the tail end of his career, and you look at our three goalkeepers as a whole, you've got Petr Cech, who, let's not forget, as good as he's been in recent weeks and months across pre-season, he's done very well, apart from the penalty, which he never saves. There were moments last season where he was haphazard. He had some very appalling games. David Ospina, can we honestly rely on this guy to step in and play consistently for us? I'm not too sure. Saying that, he did very well in that period when Szczesny did have his incident with the smoking in the dressing room, and then Ospina came in for about 6 months. He did very well in that period. Emi Martinez, is he ready to make that step into the first team? I'm not too sure. And then Arsene Wenger as well mentioned Matt Macy, who we've never seen. So I don't really know if I can judge too much of him. But again, Ryan Huddart seems to be a keeper that's coming through. I've mentioned his name a few times. His build is what gets me so excited. A massive, massive guy at such a young age as well. So in a way, I'm worried about the goalkeeping situation. I'm not overly convinced by the three keepers that we've got. There's no one that really stands out for me. I do worry that as Cech declines, because as much as I hate to say it, as wonderful as Cech is, let's be realistic. He is coming into the end of his career now. Chelsea sold him because he was getting on, and they had a better keeper in Thiago Courtois. So yeah, it's a worrying one for me, and I just hope that Arsene Wenger has the knowledge that Emi Martinez is ready to play these games, because Ospina seems to be destined to leave. And I don't know about you, Craig, but is David Ospina someone you want to see remain on at Arsenal Football Club?
No, not for me, mate. He's not good enough. Don't get me wrong. Like you said, I've got to give him his due. When he came in, yes, when Szczesny had this incident, he came in, he done his job. But he's too. I just don't like these. It's just I don't know what it is about the South American goalkeepers. I've never taken to them. I don't like their styles, the way they play as goalkeepers. I'm much. It sounds so stupid, but you know what I mean. Their style of play, they like to, pass the ball. They like to take a few risks, a bit like Szczesny, I suppose, but he's not South American. But I just don't think going forward, if we're serious about winning a title, David Ospina is not the fella we want in goal. And it pains me to say it, I don't think Petr Cech is either. To be honest, let's be honest here. We haven't got the Petr Cech that Chelsea had. Petr Cech has saved us many points in the last 2 seasons, but I hope this year he does it again. But I think this year, I'm not too confident, James, even with Petr Cech in goal. It sounds amazing. People must be thinking, what am I talking about? But it's just my opinion. I was a goalkeeper since the age of 8. You get old, and you can't move. Your agility goes. Your reaction time's gone. Your decision making isn't what it used to be. And I think we're seeing that with Petr Cech a little bit.
Yeah, it was just those few games that last season that really did have me a little bit worried about Cech. But hopefully I can put my faith in him this season. As I say, He's looked good across pre-season, had a very good end to the season last year as well. Let's not forget that. And hopefully he's got a little bit more petrol left in the tank before.
I hope you're right, mate. Don't get me wrong. I'm not calling Petr Cech a bad goalkeeper. I'm just saying, because he's not a bad goalkeeper. He's a fantastic goalkeeper. But I'm just saying his age is worrying me a little bit.
Okay, and I think you're perfectly within your rights to say that. I think it's a perfectly valid point. But let's not talk about goalkeepers for too long. Let's get on to another topic, which is, of course, the centre half, and in particular, Callum Chambers, a player that does seem to be looking to leave the club, not necessarily from his personal perspective, but the club may be looking to give him either a loan deal or permanently eject him from the club. Is this a transfer that you'd like to see happen? 22 years of age, no particular age for a centre half. Is Callum Chambers someone that you think could be pushing for a first team place at Arsenal this coming season?
Not this coming season, James. No. I think if he was offered a loan deal now, he'd be mad not to take it. Another loan for a year, perhaps not in England, perhaps abroad. Rough him up a little bit. I still think he's got a future at Arsenal. I really do. We've seen Rob Holding come out of nowhere, and basically Rob Holding has kind of elbowed Chambers out of the way, isn't he? But no, Callum Chambers, I believe, has still got quite a bright future at Arsenal. 22 years old, as you say. He's not even out of his nappies yet, as it were. So no, I wouldn't like. I think Callum Chambers. I think letting Callum Chambers go would be a big mistake. And perhaps I'd like to see him loaned out again. But I'd like to see him an Arsenal player. Yeah, absolutely. I wouldn't want to get rid of him.
Do you think it would be feasible if we were to sell him to a club, say, like Crystal Palace or West Brom, and they buy him for 16, 17 odd million, and then we insert what has been, highly talked about in recent weeks, a buyback clause to say, look, if this guy does well in 2 or 3 years' time, we can buy him back from you for about 30 to 35 million. Do you think that's something that would be a good solution for Arsenal regarding Callum Chambers?
Yeah, I mean, if you'd have said that before, I'd have probably said that, actually. Yeah, I mean, if we can definitely get him back if he's doing well, then yeah, why not? It'll be good for him, be good for us. Everyone's a winner, He'd come back to Arsenal, the big club, after playing out, I don't know, with Middlesbrough, Crystal Palace, whoever it might be. A buyback clause seems very sensible, James, to me, yeah.
My only worry is if we do let Callum Chambers go, either out on loan or permanently this season, is we will be a bit light in defence. And I do kind of worry that with the likes of Kolasinac and Monreal, they're not natural centre-halves. So for me, that back three does worry me. Mertesacker is going to be 33. Koscielny's coming up to 32. And we all know he's got this problem with his Achilles. Gabriel, is he someone that's going to be constantly in the first team? Mustafi had a few injuries last season. Rob Holding seems to be the only really reliable one out of our defence at the minute. And that's barring players that play out of position in that back three. So it's been talked about a lot that we should be looking to enter the market for a new centre-half. And is that something that you think Arsenal should be doing? Or maybe with Christian Bielik coming through, with Callum Chambers still at the club, do you think we should be looking to promote those players rather than be dipping into the transfer market?
I would like to see the youngsters promoted. Yeah, I would. I would like to see Bielik promoted. Chambers, perhaps, if he can sit down with Arsene Wenger and talk it out and keep him here. But I don't know about buying a centre half, James. No, I don't think so. I think we've got enough there. Rob Holding, Chambers, Bielik. I like Gabriel. I think he's the most underrated player at our club.
I'd say the one thing that he does differently to the other centre halves we've got is he's so quick into the tackle, and I love that tenacity about him.
Yeah, I love him. I mean, we see him there when we win games, and he's got a big come on, and I like him. I like him a lot, and like I say, I think he gets a bit of a bum deal, really, from some of us. I think he's very underrated. He's kind of a quiet fella, the quiet player. You never hear him moaning. We never hear him, giving out that he's not getting enough playing time. And all of a sudden he'll pop up on a Saturday afternoon, and yeah, he makes mistakes, but don't they all? I mean, even Koscielny makes mistakes. This people call Koscielny world class. I don't know about that, but I like Gabriel. And again, I think he's got a part to play as well this year.
Do you think that maybe, I mean, Gabriel's, in the time he's been at Arsenal, I've never considered him a first-team regular. I've never thought of Gabriel as someone that's going to play week in, week out for Arsenal. Apart from maybe when he very first joined and he seemed to hit the ground running, played some brilliant football. We seem to be keeping clean sheets. Maybe the start of 2015-16 was when I thought, okay, him and Koscielny can form an effective partnership. Didn't work out for one reason or another. But in this new formation we've got, do you think that, given that he played at right back from time to time last season and at times excelled there, he's got a really kind of tailor-made position for him in this right centre-back role. It's not a position where he has to be overly responsible. It's a position that I think would be perfect for someone like Gabriel.
Yeah, exactly, mate. You hit the nail on the head, playing at right back and then coming into the right side of the centre half. Yeah, why not? But then what do we do with, is Arsene Wenger going to play the three at the back? Do you honestly believe that he's going to start with the three at the back again this year?
I would have thought so, given, I mean, we haven't played a four at the back this pre-season. So if we were to suddenly switch to a back four for that opening game against Leicester, I'd be very, very surprised.
Well, this is Arsene Wenger we're talking about. You never know. But, no, like I say, Gabriel is, like you said, you've knocked it on the head yourself. There's a position there for him. And I believe that he'll have a say this year. I really do.
I think, Craig, it's an interesting point you make there about what formation we'll play. And in my eyes, now we've switched to this formation, I look at our centre halves as individuals. I don't think we've actually got good enough centre halves to be playing for at the back anymore. I don't think Gabriel Koscielny is an effective partnership. I don't think Koscielny Mertesacker is as effective as it once was. I don't think, I love Holding, and I'd love to see him play with Koscielny, but given Koscielny's injury record and the fact he's coming up to 32, that's not a feasibly long-term one. So I don't think that's going to work in the longevity of Arsenal Football Club. And then Monreal, again, a player that's coming up to, I believe, 32 as well, or 31. He's not on a centre-half. And the same for Kolasinac. He can't play at centre-half. He can play at centre-half in a back three, but not in a back four. So for me, the players we brought in, the players we've already got at the club, it would be insane to switch to a back four because we look a lot stronger with a back three. And as I mentioned, the players that we've got do not convince me in a back four because that's where we shipped so many goals last season. I don't know about you, Craig.
No, you're dead right, mate. And you make a great point of the four at the back. Not getting a good centre defensive partnership. Well, I mean, we've been lacking a good centre defensive partnership for many years, and it's really weird when I watch Arsenal that they look stronger with three at the back. It looks more tight. It looks more composed. It looks more organised than it does with a four. So yeah, I hope. Don't get me wrong. I hope that we keep with the three, but I'm telling you, mate, it wouldn't surprise me if we roll out against Leicester with four. It really, really wouldn't. But let's wait and see. Three at the back for me from the start of the season, 100%.
Okay, Craig. So on that note, we'll make it the final question of the show. What would be your perfect back three going into the game against Leicester?
Okay, what? Without international players out, or?
Well, okay. So forget the first game against Leicester. What is your strongest back three?
My strongest back three is Koscielny, Mustafi, Holding.
Not Gabriel?
No. I still believe he's got a part to play, but if I'm allowed to pick the team, Koscielny, Mustafi, Holding.
And how do you see them three lining up? Mustafi on the left, Holding on the right?
Mustafi, yeah, I would imagine Holding on the right, Mustafi on the left, and Koscielny through the middle.
Do you not think in that short period where Mustafi played at centre, like in the middle of the three, particularly against Stoke away and I think Southampton away as well, I thought he was brilliant in the middle of the three, and he played it as well for Germany in the Confederations Cup. Yeah. Do you think that could be a long-term position for him?
Well, you would hope, wouldn't you, that the three of them would have enough. By now, the three of them would have enough relationship to be able to say to each other and talk to each other during the game, where they're switching and filling in behind each other. Do you know what I mean? Not actually going out there and saying, "Oh right, okay, you're the right side, I'm in the middle, and you're the left." I would hope that they've got a system going where they're talking to each other and they're covering each other. Perhaps Mustafi would be the better option in the middle, as you say, playing there for Germany, and get those performances against Stoke, as you say, superb in the middle. So, yeah, all right, James. Just to please you, I'll put Mustafi in the middle.
Brilliant stuff, mate. And on that note, I think we'll wrap up there. Craig, thank you ever so much for coming on, mate. It's been a brilliant discussion.
It's been an absolute pleasure, mate. Thank you for having me on.
No problems at all, mate. Hopefully, we'll get you involved in a few more of these throughout the course of the season. Yeah, and hopefully we can keep you consistent as well. And with your podcast, I think you're doing an absolutely brilliant thing there. You and Lee, the chemistry you two have got, I think that's a really, really good niche there. And anyone watching this, if you haven't subscribed to the Same Old Arsenal podcast, what you're doing, subscribe to it. It's brilliant. It's absolutely fantastic. Make sure you get involved with that. And again, thanks to everyone who's viewed tonight. Very decent viewing numbers considering Love Island's on. So yeah, thanks for that. I don't know if we've got Claude watching tonight. We'll see about that one. But yeah, thanks to everyone that's watched. Please do subscribe to the Same Old Arsenal podcast, and as well check out more of these discussions on Cannon Chat. We're doing some filming in the week next week, so we'll have something a little bit different coming out for you, something that I'm very much looking forward to getting out on the channel. And again, thank you to Craig for coming on, and we'll be speaking to you very, very soon. See you later.